All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Progress America Unfiltered. We've got a really special show for you today. I'm here with Rhett, Jocelyn, and we have a special guest that I'm just going to go ahead and let Rhett introduce because we want to get right into this. So, Rhett, can you tell us who our special guest is, how you know them, and what we're going to talk about on today's amazing show?
Yes. So Kyle is the legend of Starbucks Castro here in San Francisco. So, far too often I start my morning with a 20-minute walk over to their Starbucks because the Starbucks in the Castro is the closest Starbucks to me here in San Francisco that is unionized. And part of the unionization effort of that Starbucks was led by none other than Kyle, who is joining us today. So Kyle worked with so many of the great baristas, community organizers, and the rest at Starbucks in the Castro to really push back against the corporate greed, push for workers' rights, and push for the right to collectively bargain in the workplace. So really exciting stuff. Kyle, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about this organization journey to getting Starbucks unionized over in the Castro and what it means for the company?
Yeah, I've been a Starbucks partner for 9 years. I've been at the Castro location for 5 years, and I definitely kind of just got thrown in a way into this campaign. I had never had any sort of organizing experience or anything like that. I could say the closest thing I've maybe been involved with is just like punk rock and stuff like that. Just yeah, political stuff like that. But actually, like getting on the ground and getting involved in action, with I no experience until this campaign started. Should I go into just real quick how the union started, or?
I think that's
Yeah,
great.
that would be
Yeah,
great.
so kind of what happened was is there was kind of a rank smell in the store for a little while, and no, we searched all over the place. We looked everywhere. We were looking like under cupboards, stuff like that, and we could not find what was going on. Finally, and it had been called in a couple times, and again, they, when we call something in, they'll bring in like someone who that's their job to like, like a plumber or what anything like that. They ended up a couple times they brought people in, they couldn't find anything. Finally, they went in and they opened up the floor, which is where it was discovered that there was a plumbing issue. There was apparently like kind of, gross raw sewage was, seeping from the pipes. So what happened from there is they told us we were going to be closed for 1 month. That it was a week or a month. I'm sorry, it was a while ago. I can't remember, but it was a shorter amount of time than what it ended up being, which was 4 months. In those 4 months, the company did not really do anything to support the workers. It was basically everyone was just scrambling, calling other stores, just get finding shifts where they could. And for some people, they have to work second jobs, which that in it of itself sucks. And so you're working your second job, and you're on top of that, you're trying to find shifts for your other job. So finally, what happened is they finished all that work, and they brought us into the store, and the store was a mess. There was just cardboard boxes everywhere. There was sweeping that needed to be done, and they told us it was going to be another month. To which a couple of my coworkers were basically like, "No way! Like, we can't keep doing this." So on even before the union, this was kind of a way of like I coworkers taking action and coming together. We're just being like, "No, we'll do it. We'll clean it. Just let us do it because we need to get back to work." And that's exactly what happened. We ended up going in there and cleaning out the store and handling all that leftover stuff. So obviously, this situation left a very bad taste in everyone's mouths. And we knew about the unionization effort going on around the country, and the conversation just started with one person, and it was basically, why don't we do this? And I was basically the first person who was like, yes, absolutely, let's get it going. And yeah, and then and now here we are.
Yeah, that's so awesome, Kyle. I have some news to break, everybody. My first job ever was as a Starbucks barista in a Safeway kiosk. I don't know if I told you that, Kyle, but oh
Briefly.
my gosh, by far the hardest job I've ever had. So really kudos to you all for not only getting the job done on the everyday, but also putting in this extracurricular effort to organize for your rights, organize for this cause that means so much. And like really, like every career, this is about the livelihood of the people that work there for sure. So I love that you found that this was not going to be appropriate for them to keep the store closed, that you all needed to have this consistency in your paychecks, in your availability, in your work, and you made it happen. And that's so inspiring. And I want to pass it over to Jocelyn. And Jocelyn, so we've definitely talked before about just like the importance of unionization, about the importance of having workers' rights and activism, all that good stuff. But I wanted to see, is there anything that you wanted to ask Kyle? Because I know we talked a little bit about this interview and I wanted to hand the floor over to you.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting with this question, right? Like, how do we get justice for service workers specifically? We need to realize that people who are part of the service economy are being gaslit into believing what they do is not work, right? I waited tables for 7 years and paid my rent, and that was like my real job. But there is no guaranteed income, that you're living entirely off tips. Schedules are erratic, so you don't know what you're going to make from week to week. And one thing I've really noticed in the commentary around all the fine work you're doing, Kyle, and all the fine work everyone is doing, is there's this either explicit or subtle conversation. Oh, well, barista, that's like a job for college students, or, for like high school. No, that's not the case, right? People are supporting families with these jobs, and they have to, because they're a growing part of the economy. More and more people eat out, more and more people go to coffee shops. And so I think a big part of this fight, along with talking about why unions are so important, is talking about the fact that service work is labor. Service work is important. This is a real profession, and it needs to be taken seriously and protected.
Yeah, I'm very happy that you bring that up because that's been kind of a big point of mine throughout this campaign. And, it just kind of came to me that, working in industries like this, it could be very, it could, it could be very lonely, I guess I'd say in a way. Or, it's like you said, I think people forget a lot about us workers. And I mean, like again, for me, I want to defeat that idea of, like I think of like when I was younger, my mom being like, stay in school, you don't want to end up like a burger flipper or something like that. And it's just, I think ideas like that they're wrong, and it's messed up because this is labor. We do work hard. It is tough work, and it takes a lot out of you. It does a lot. It does some damage on your mental health after a while.
And like,
People kind
oh,
of view you. Oh, sorry. It just
no, I'm sorry.
people kind of view you as a robot. And at least, and I will say, I feel at least with Starbucks, there's this idea of as a barista, coffee shop culture or whatever. You want to get to know your customers and stuff like that. You want to have those conversations. When versus jobs like things like, I don't know, for example, maybe like McDonald's or Burger King or something like that. I feel like they don't push those kinds of ideas. It's very much like get the order and get that order and make the food, and that's about it. So I just, again, I think workers in this industry are really forgotten about, and I think we deal with a lot, like mental health wise, just because customers and bosses can be really mean sometimes. And so, yeah, I'm really happy you bring that up because that is kind of a big point of mine that I'm trying to fight back against. Of like this idea that the fast food worker, it's just this transitional job or something like that. I've met workers at Starbucks who have probably been there like 20 years, and they don't plan on going anywhere.
And then I think, one of the equally disgusting parts is it's really difficult to transition out of service industry work. It's a fight that, you have this exploitation is rampant. sexual harassment, underpay, insane shifts, like, oh, close at 2 a.m., be back at 7. Like, there's no regulation of any kind whatsoever. And all the amazing work you do, interpersonal skills, managing complex situations, working under pressure, are not taken seriously on a resume. Even though I know I use the skills I learned as a waitress in media more than anything I learned in college. 100%.
No,
It's
absolutely. Yeah.
So I was going to ask. So I think this is completely a great conversation to be having, and I agree. I think I can speak for everyone at Progress America Unfiltered when I say every worker should be entitled to, pay, benefits, tips on top, all of that stuff. And I guess a question that I think some people who haven't worked in the service industry or aren't, used to union efforts, they might say, like, why unionize? Why not just talk to your boss? Why not, file a complaint with corporate? Why go to the effort of forming a union, collectively bargaining, and really showing up at the table?
I mean, again, being a 9-year partner, one thing I've realized, well, actually, I probably didn't even really realize it till the campaign started, but you you can bring up anything with corporate. You can bring up anything to your bosses. In the end, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. They are not looking out for you. You are expendable. You are so expendable. They from the idea of like up there at the top, I'm sure they view us as ants, and they everyone needs a job. We could easily replace you. And the thing is, like, talking about like our store managers and stuff like that, you could bring things up to your store manager. In the end, I think they are just as expendable as we are. And and some of these store managers, I'd say, they try and do the right thing, and they get fired. And yeah, so but then, and the thing about it, everyone's most people are pro union. They just don't realize it. The thing is like, when you go from, I guess I'll speak from my personal experience. It went from feeling completely hopeless and like, this is what I'm stuck here. I'm never gonna get out. I don't know what else I'm gonna do. It went from that to, now I'm like, yeah, I work at Starbucks. I work at a union Starbucks. But the thing is, it's just you're not you're never going to get anything done in your workplace until you come together with your coworkers. There is no way you're going to make that change on your own. You have to come together. That's just the way it is. D- Solidarity is the most important thing, and everyone just needs to stand together. And I think about too is just like with this fast food industry and stuff like that. If every fast food worker like realized this, or could understand this, there is so much change that could happen there. Like, you see a Starbucks on every corner in San Francisco, and I'm sure in major cities everywhere. You see a Starbucks on every corner. Imagine if all of those Starbucks unionized, and it would just be a domino effect. It would just, all these jobs that, the common person, I feel, have, they forget about those workers, or they view them as lower because they work at those jobs. All of a sudden, all these people would have some kind of power over these multi-billion-dollar companies who like who have been mistreating them and treating them like dirt. And all of a sudden, the power switches to the people who make that money. The only reason these CEOs are sitting at the top is because of us.
And the only reason those jobs are bad is because of the CEOs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a thing that people really don't understand. The service jobs have the capacity to be great middle class jobs. It's fun. You're talking to people, you're building community with your coworkers, and just like, it's a great job for a lot of extroverts, and it's a necessary job at a time where more single people are like out there eating at restaurants. And the only reason these jobs are bad is because of the lack of collective bargaining.
Absolutely.
So, Kyle, we really connected for the first time on the unionization efforts of Starbucks when we were in front of the Castro location, where you were leading the picketing efforts there ahead of Howard Schultz's testimony in front of the United States Senate. And of course, now we know that Starbucks is welcoming a new CEO, but really the stains of union busting efforts and this very public display of this hearing are still ongoing. And so I was just going to ask you, do you have any big takeaways about these union busting efforts from Starbucks, about this hearing that we saw yesterday with Howard Schultz?
Um, about the union busting, obviously it needs to stop. It's wrong. It's messed up, and it's actively fighting back against the union, which we're protected. You can't do that. Obviously they don't care, but but my main thing I want to say is we won't be broken. I personally I won't I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be staying into this till the bitter end, and I'm sure there are plenty. No, I know there are numerous other people who feel the same exact way that I do at these unionized locations, and they aren't going to get rid of us. They can keep trying, but and half the people they think they do get rid of it, they come back because it was illegal, so they get rehired, which is great. But and then about the hearing again, just Howard deflecting and just refusing to take any sort of responsibility, whether it was changing the subject to my father or saying I didn't know about that. It obviously you did. You're the CEO at this highly publicized union campaign right now. There is absolutely no way you did not know about these things happening. And then also, I just wanted to highlight too, the union people who got to speak. Maggie Carter was there, who's a good friend of mine. I believe. Oh God, what did they say? It was like, oh my God, I can't remember what the quote was, but it was powerful. But yeah, and I think that's kind of the most important thing too, is like I'm very happy there were like politicians there, obviously Bernie, who were in our corner and were there, and obviously, there were the Republicans there who, they were on Howard's side, whatever. But I think the most important thing at the hearing is, that there were workers who have experienced these things, and I think those are the people that should be listened to. It's always the workers.
Yeah. And I think too, it's important to like dig into, especially for people who might not have a lot of experience with unions. I personally am somebody who I really never thought about unions at all until I worked a pretty rough job and actually led a unionization efforts at that workplace. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, which was great. And we got a contract and the place was unionized and then I immediately left. But, if you're not in that culture, you don't really understand what something like union busting means, like what that really means for your day to day. It's kind of like a glossy term, but it's not as cute as being like, hey, don't unionize. It is fear. It is intimidation. It is wondering if you're going to get fired for no reason so that you can't start a union. It's randomly getting hours cut. It's people getting laid off. It's in Starbucks case, it's stores getting closed, citing reasons that aren't actually the reason that they want to close the store. And it can be really, really scary and intimidating. So to have Howard Schultz get in front of the stand, knowing what he's doing and what people he hires are doing to ensure that workers aren't able to exercise their collective right to bargain, it's really, really frustrating. And it's like a slap in the face to workers.
No, and I mean it's insane that Starbucks for years and years and years, they had people knew them for this progressive image, and like they're about people, they take care of their workers. But and now it's come out that it's mask off. It's in the end that was all just pandering, and just it's they aren't as progressive as they put out. And in the end, again, Starbucks is putting on some of the most vicious union busting out of most companies. This super progressive company that always touted itself as like, I believe like Black Lives Matter and things like that, and they said they were about that kind of stuff. No, it was a lie. I don't think you're about any of that.
Absolutely. And it's so clear when you see how Howard Schultz reacted, in front of Congress. Bernie Sanders asked him, have you ever threatened, coerced, or intimidated a worker for supporting a union? And his answer was so weird and creepy and vague. He said, I've had conversations that could have been interpreted in a way different than I intended, which is just very obviously kind of skirting the question and saying maybe you read into something as a threat, but I didn't directly threaten you. And this is the kind of stuff that workers are going up against. And it's disgusting.
I believe the sentiment or the situation he was referring to was where he essentially said, this I don't think this is the exact quote, but he basically said, if you don't like it, you can leave.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know how you could paint that in any way else. That's the same exact sentiment as some random person on Twitter tells us all the time. It's the same. It's this insane like talking point that we hear constantly, and it's like that's coming from the guy at the top, the guy all the way at the top, who's essentially just telling you, yeah, if you don't like it, you can leave. When he was expressing these, that we care about we're partners.
Yeah, absolutely. For a company that, refers to their employees as partners, but isn't treating them as partners, it's pretty harrowing. Actually, we're talking about quotes from the hearing, and I have a quote from Maggie Carter that at the Progress America Unfiltered team we really liked, where she addressed the new CEO, Laxman Narasimhan. I hope I'm pronouncing that
Narasimhan, I
closely.
believe.
Narasimhan. And she said, this is a chance for your company to stop its unprecedented campaign of union busting and instead partner with us, your so-called partners, and our union to build a company that truly lives up to its values. And so as you guys are in this fight, continuing to fight for unionization, it is already historic. There have been over 300 unionized stores across the country. So the pressure is working. But I guess I would like to know for ourselves, for Rhett, who goes to Starbucks every day, for our viewers at home, how can we support your efforts, support unionization, while maybe still enjoying a coffee every once in a while? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. No, and I mean, we're not asking anyone to like boycott or anything right now. I mean, we still need jobs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, um, one way that everyone can help is there's the no contract, no coffee pledge. You could just Google Starbucks Workers United, no contract, no coffee. That's essentially a pledge that it'll put you on a list that kind of will make that call when it gets to that point. Be like, hey, it's time to stop. And then that, and of course that's not happening right now. That's if we feel that it comes to that point, then that's something we can do, or that's something we'll do. We're not afraid to do that. But yeah, we're not asking anyone to like boycott or anything like that, unless there's a strike. If there's a strike, don't cross that picket line. And I prefer you not go to any Starbucks that day if we're on strike. But anyways, and I mean, just I think other ways that you can help too is if you're going into a non-unionized location, I think just kind of bringing it up to those workers and just being like, oh, hey, have you heard about the union efforts or anything like that? And just kind of, because, it's surprising, but there are a lot, I guess maybe it's not super surprising, but there are a lot of people who you don't even know about this, or that just Starbucks is so scared, and I've seen this for myself, that Starbucks is so scared. I'll go into a store that I'm working at there. I'm working at a store for the day, and I'll go in there, and there's been no sentiment of any union organization effort at that store, and they have anti-union propaganda up in that store, and I mean, when you have no context to the union, stuff like that works. Like, unfortunately, because you're not getting all the sides. You're only getting Starbucks. But yeah, so I just kind of going in and into these non-unionized locations and kind of letting them know that hey, there's a thing going on. I just heard about this. Maybe you should look into it. I just kind of planting that seed there, like maybe I should look into this. And then, I have to say, if you go into your unionized location, just, be cool, be rad, be nice. Let us know. Order your coffee union strong. That's always nice.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, it's been so great talking to you. Before we wrap up, I just want to hear from Rhett, Jocelyn. Do you have any thoughts about Starbucks specifically, the unionization efforts we're seeing across the country?
No, I just want to, again, thank you, Kyle, to reiterate what everyone else said. There's something I saw on the internet once. I love that nobody wants to solve the problems in America. They just want to become people who the problems don't apply to anymore. And that's so easy. It's so easy to leave and get a different job and just put it all behind you. And that doesn't make this country a safer place to be in for all of us. So I am hats off to all of you wonderful people that are making unions great again, because this used to be a country filled with good middle-class union jobs, and it can be again.
Absolutely. San Francisco is a union town. I think people forget that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, no, San Francisco is a union town. I believe that through and through. And Kyle, thank you so much. I will see you soon. I love it. Thank you again for joining. I really just appreciate everything you're doing for San Francisco and for the Castro community. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, y'all. This was great. And I'm happy to come back anytime.
Yay. All right, y'all, support your local Starbucks union, and we'll see you next time at Progress America Unfiltered. Bye.